Our company's trained thousands of closers over the past 5 years. One of the biggest mistakes we see is really effective deal making, okay? And so I'm going to break down what this means and how you can really close. I mean, if you're watching this and you're a business owner or you're a salesperson, I bet you can close 10 to 20% more deals if you're not doing this just by implementing some of these basic strategies. So this is critical. I rarely see it. After you do the tie downs, which is in our last video that I published under the channel, you're really going to uncover one or two things, okay? So after you do the tie downs, which if you haven't watched that video, go watch it. But essentially it's first isolating, does this person believe 100% that this is the right thing, now is the right time? Is there anything else that's keeping it from being less than 100% certain that this is what they want to do? We first want to get them sold on the thing in the now, right? So essentially sold on the idea, sold on the process, sold on the plan, okay? Because if we get that, everything else is just logistics that we need to navigate through. Now, once we get this, and once we do the tie downs, you basically get one or two things. You can either get objections or logistics. Objections are, of course, for whatever reason, they don't believe this is the right thing, now's the right time. So we try to tie them down on that, and we don't get it, which we can handle that. That was more of the last video. But the logistics is really what I cover here, which is they do believe that they want to do this, but there's a real money, time, or support being spouse, partner, team, board, somebody else that's not on the call, not supporting them and making the decision. Money, time, partner, spouse, etc. Obstacle is in the way, but it's a logistic. They're 100% sold. They're like, dude, I want to do this. It's just this. Okay. So this training is going to be really about how to handle that. And I'm going to give you some examples. It's the easiest way to train it for money and time. Okay. So money, it's not unusual. You'll do the tie downs like I mentioned in the previous video. So, and so you're tying down like, hey, so money and everything aside, do you 100% want to do this? Like, do you think this is going to work? And it's what you need to get your business to the outcome that you want. And they say, no, I'm 100% in. I just really got to move money around. So just give me 2 days, but I'm 100% in. Or they might say, oh no, I'm 100% in. I'm just in the process of buying a house, so I can't make any big investments. So they might say something along these lines, right? Average people just accept this. Great salespeople get creative. So I'm going to give you a very basic example of this. Let's say they have to move money around and I'm 100% in. Most closers are like, okay, great. Well, when are you going to move the money around? Oh, 3 days. Okay, let's schedule the follow-up. And then it's like, they might show up and pay. They might not show up and pay. You just have no idea. So what we want to cover is slow it down. So they'll say, no, I got to move money around that I'm 100% in. I'm going to say, well, when you say you got to move money around, what does that actually look like? Like, where is that coming from? Are you selling off stocks, taking out a brokerage account? Like, walk me through that process A to Z. Gotcha. And then when is that process going to be finished and you're ready to go? Okay. And then once you're ready to go, you're going to be 100% moving forward on that day. So once I get clarity on this, what I can almost always do, because what I'm doing, of course, if you follow my training, I always start with the pay in full price. And then if I'm going to give any payment plans, I only do that when they 100% have to do it and they have to need it, right? I don't incentivize it anyway. I'm doing that as kind of like it's not really a downsell, but it's it's kind of like a downsell in a way when I get payment plans. So, I'm starting at the pay in full. So if they got to move money around to do the pay in full, almost always once I get clarity on it, I can let them know, hey, you could do half now. Why don't you just do half now and then half when you're done moving money around, right? I'm only going to know that I can say that after I've slowed it down and kind of gotten the logistics of what money moving around looks like. And what I might do also is the open wallet technique, which we talked about in a different video, but essentially getting their cash on hand, their credit, and their net incoming cash flow. So then I have their finances all laid out, and then I can really navigate what can they do now. Because I'd be able to get them to do half now and half at the end of the week, and then that way I can get them rolling. Or, I could even just collect 1K, get them in, kind of get them oriented, and then they can pay on Friday or whatever it is in a couple of days. And then once they're all paid up, they can book their onboarding call. So I know this sounds so simple, but people just won't do this. They'll just be like, okay, great. Well, hit me up when you move money around. Or like, wait, let's schedule a follow-up when you move the money around. If you can get them in on that day through some form of lower payment and then collect the rest in a couple of days, then at least you 100% got the sale. I know it sounds so basic. People just don't even do it, okay? So another thing is when people don't fit into structured payment plans, like 1, 2, and 3 pay, this doesn't mean they necessarily can't do it, right? And again, this is important why when you get a financial objection and they're like, they're like, yeah, like, I really want to do this. I just got to figure out a way to make it work financially. And you're like, gotcha. So money aside, you're basically 100% in. And they're like, yeah, money aside, I'm 100% in. Okay, perfect. So look, like the majority of people who work with us, they do it up front. But for certain people like yourself who are 100% in, they really want to do it, finance is standing in the way, we break it up. But all of that is all customized. So are you open to having an honest conversation financially, getting everything on the table so we can see if you could do this now, or at the very least, I can kind of help you leave with a game plan for you to work towards this in the future. And they're like, yeah, totally. And then we get cash on hand, credit, and net 30-day income. If you need more scripting on that, any video where I cover financial objections, it'll cover this open wallet technique. It's all over the channel, okay? So once I have that all laid out, a lot of times somebody's like, oh man, I can come in, I just got to wait for this client payment to come in or this work payment to come in 2 weeks. So oftentimes you can still take $1,000 or $2,000 down. It could be like this. They might not fit into a 3-pay, but you could do half of that 3-pay now, half the next week, and then after that, it's just a regular 3-pay from there. And then you can get them in. Because if you don't take anything, a lot of times it's just 50-50 on if they're going to, next Wednesday, if they're going to show up and actually buy or whatever it is. Let's cover how this works for timing. So this is a huge one. You'll like this if this time of year, you're going to really appreciate this, okay? So prospect says, this sounds great. I want to start January 3rd after the holidays. Salesperson says, got it. So timing aside, you're 100% in. Definitive tie down. Isolating, right? Yeah. Then you just double tie down. So you say, okay, just to be clear, if we're having the same exact conversation we're having right now, but it's January 3rd after the holidays, you're 100% giving me your credit card moving forward. They're like, yeah. Got it. So I got an idea. Are you open to it? They're going to be like, yeah. Okay, cool. Well, look, I don't think the best thing for you, based on what you told me in your current situation and is to wait and do nothing. I also don't think the best thing for you is to hop in right now if you're going to have a bunch of travel to where you can't fully take advantage of the program and the time you have with us. So what I'd be willing to do for you is add on 30 days to your engagement with us. That way, you could start now, knock out some of the initial onboarding and initial items, even get result 1, 2, and 3, and then come January 3rd, we can set your official start date for then, and then you can really have to hit the ground running. So if I'm willing to do that for you, basically adding on 30 days into your engagement with us, are you willing to move forward right now? And you have to make that trade, right? You can't just be like, oh, well, no problem. We'll just add on 30 days. They're like, what? You got to frame it like this, okay? I got it on the screen. Frame it like this, right? So you can use this framework even if it's 7 days, it's 30 days. I just had a client who told me, I taught this to them, and they were like, yeah, this person wanted to wait till after the election. We used this, bolted on some time into the program, then they paid in full, okay? But what's great about this is it helped us suss out the true objections, because basically what I did here is through this framework, I eliminated any logical reason not to start today. So essentially, if you still get resistance and it's like, okay, well, there's no reason not to start today because you just told me you really want to do this. There's nothing standing in the way. You just want to wait a month. Why just buy you a month? So what's really going on? There's no reason to not do it now. So now you can have that honest conversation. So a couple things as we get into payment plans. 2 common payment plan mistakes is number 1 is lack of flexibility. So let's say you have upfront cash collection is greater than 40 to 50%. The first thing I'm always going to look at, I'm going to give you some context. I'm going to get into this, but if your upfront cash is greater than 40 to 50%, at first you want to increase the price. Now, at a certain stage, you're going to see resistance, and most people stop there. Okay, but usually what you can do is add elongated payment plans to be able to create more flexibility for those clients, even at that higher cash price. Okay, this is going to make more sense in a second. So the key is it's very offer dependent, but generally if you have like a 90-day type of thing or 120 days or 10 weeks to 120 days, that time frame, which is very common in our industry, upfront cash target, I would try to make it no lower than 35 to 40%. Very offer dependent, but that's kind of what I want to go for. So the common mistake is, this will kind of paint it home, is I'll see a $6,800 offer with 60% upfront cash. So likely this person can go to $9,800, drop upfront cash to 40%, and you'll net way more money, okay? The key is that, you're going to have to extend a lot of times to where maybe at first you were only doing 1, 2, and 3 pays, but you're going to have to extend to 4 and 5 pays. Now, the key again is to maintain all the 1, 2, and 3 pays while adding net new sales at 4 and 5 pays. So if your closers are lazy and you do this and then all of a sudden everything is a 5 pay, then it's not going to work. Take less money. Okay. So you don't want them to get lazy and have your 1 pays turn into 2 pays, 2 pays into 3, 3 into 4, 4 into 5, etc. Okay. Which brings me to this mistake is giving a payment plan to somebody is not effective objection handling. It's fucking desperate. All right. So I'll give you an example. As the prospect says they want to think about it, the salesperson says, well, what if we just do 4 payments of X, Y, and Z? If we did that, would you move forward? And the prospect's like, I still need to think about it. So this is an extreme example, but this type of stuff where it's somebody just gives a payment plan at the first point of resistance or just because they don't know how to handle objection, that's desperation. That's not objection handling. Okay, so as a sales manager or as an owner, you have to QC this stuff. They have to follow the process. they can't collapse and give away the farm at the first point of resistance is desperate and pathetic. So that's it for this video, guys. We'll see you in the next video.